Okay, you all got the message. Recording in progress. Welcome everybody to Special Ed 642. Tonight we are going to we'll go over the syllabus, kind of an introduction. There's a couple of business things I want to know, like how many of you actually have the textbook yet, and some of those kind of things. But first things first. I guess I could share my screen while we're doing this. Of course, your faces are bigger if I don't, but here is the course syllabus. And I'm just going to have to make your faces bigger every time I share the screen. We are going to do introductions in just a second here, okay? Because we definitely have to do that. Okay, so I have our sessions scheduled from Tuesday and Thursday, 4:30 to 6:30. We will try very hard to be finished by 6, but if I technically, this class period, whatever is scheduled from 4:30 to 7, that's just too long to be on a Zoom session. So 4:30 to 6:30, try to be done by 6. And then hopefully, if one day we go to 6:05, everybody won't be ready to kill me because we went over time. So we will try to be finished by 6, but please allocate till 6:30, okay? Now, I don't know about your school schedules, etc., but I am open to meeting your needs. So we could go at 4. Probably most of you don't want to push it back to 5. Unless maybe you do. I don't know. Let's have everybody in the chat. What would be your preferred time? Would you rather do 4, 4:30, or 5? Okay. I got 3 votes for 4:30. 4:30. Okay. Guess what? Okay. Thanks, Hisako. Okay. It looks like everybody has 4:30. The Hisako said 4 or 4:30, so that's fine. Okay. 4:30 it is. We have made our first executive decision as a class. Yay, congratulate yourself. Okay, so we will keep it with 4:30, no changes needed. Let's go around. This will kind of serve like a mic check too, and just say your name and where you are teaching. If you are if you're in a traditional placement right now, like with your mentor teacher, just mention that. You know, I am working with a mentor teacher at such and such a school. If you are an emergency hire, mention that as well. Okay, so your name, your school, and just what kind of classroom you're working in. I'm going to go ahead and call on you just because I'm going to go by what's on the screen. And let's start with Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary. I am in a high school FSC classroom as a traditional student, but I am hoping to do e-hire for next year.
Oh, great. Okay. Where is that school? Or where are you hoping to be hired? Where are you?
I would love to be in a high school CBI classroom.
What island?
Oahu.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay, because I think some people are not, but yeah, I get it. Lisa, let's have you go next.
Hi, I'm Lisa Bacaraza. I am currently at Lelehoa High School as an e-hire in an inclusion and resource setting. I'm trying to wait to see what line I get next year. I will still be at Lilihua. I'm just not sure what subject I'll be teaching.
Okay, great. Very good. Okay, so we got two Oahu's. Hisako.
Hi, I'm Hisako Antiola. I go by Kat, K-A-T-T.
Okay, let me write that down. That's one thing I will need because, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm currently working as an EA at Bowdoin High School on Maui. My field supervisor was Ms. Heather this semester. The high school is telling me that at the minimum, they have the same EA position, definitely guaranteed for me, but they might have something else, but they're not ready to say anything just yet. They said I will hear from them probably the end of by the mid or end of July, which is like almost right before the new semester starts.
Yeah. They'll let you
Yeah.
know a week before school starts.
Yeah. But I mean, probably every school, it's shortage and they just gonna juggle with a lot of, I don't know, staff and situations. So I'm trying to be understanding. Yeah.
Okay. I actually think it's not a bad idea at all to be like I guess we call it like the traditional student teacher kind of thing in somebody else's class your first year. If you have the opportunity to do that, I think that's fantastic because when you're an e-hire, and some of you may know, you've never been in anybody else's class. And it's really advantageous to have, even if it's just one semester in somebody else's class. But by the time you get to your last semester in the program, you should be an e-hire because when you're in that formal student teaching, and so in your first semester, how you have to be 20 hours a week, right? That last semester where you need to be full-time, you might as well be getting paid for it. But I like the trajectory of starting at the 20 hours per week and then moving forward. So I think that's a really good situation. In Hawaii, though, I know that not everybody can afford to do that. So some people do take the emergency hire even their first semester. Asia, what about you? Have you go next?
Hi, I'm Asia. I'm an e-hire at Kailua Intermediate and I teach 8th grade math resource.
Okay, Kailua Inter. Okay, great. The next person here, and I might butcher your name. I hope I don't. Sikota? Say it right for me.
Yep. Sorry, my name is Sikora. Last name is Noilapi. I'm currently a community-based instruction teacher at Roosevelt High School. I
Oh,
was an e-hire for 2 years at Farrington High School, and this is my first year teaching at Roosevelt High School.
okay. Very good. Okay, Roosevelt CBI. Wonderful. Okay, the next one up on my screen is Joe.
I'll say my name is Joe. I'm a long-term sub, becoming an e-hire for next semester. I'll have inclusion and resource for Hawaiian studies.
And where was that, Joe?
Stevenson Middle School.
Stevenson. Okay.
Yes.
Stevenson and Roosevelt, you guys are right there.
Yep, he's gonna get some of my peeps.
There you go. You guys can. You
No, I
guys.
want him to be surprised. I'm not gonna tell him anything about my peeps. He'd be like, oh my God. They're all
And
good.
I will tell you, I can see probably both of your schools from right where I am because I live right in Makiki. So, how about you, Remy? Did I say that right? Also,
Yeah, it's Remy. I right now I'm going the traditional route. And I'm at New Valley Middle School.
oh, great. Wonderful. Very nice. Avery.
Hello, I'm Avery. I teach at Waiakea High School on the Big Island in Hilo,
Okay.
and I'm an emergency hire.
Great. And last but not least, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm an emergency hire at Castle High School in Kaneohe. And I co-teach English 10, 11, and 12. And I also teach 2 periods of my own English resource class.
Okay.
So
Well, some of you, I'm sure you're in schools with maybe a few people I know, but we'll get with that as we go along. So I'm Rhonda Black. I've been at the University of Hawaii now, Hawaii at Manoa. Now that all the other schools are getting programs too, you have to say University of Hawaii at Manoa, because there are programs at, the like University of Hawaii at Hilo, West Oahu, and they even have some programs at Leeward, teacher prep programs at Leeward, and they have like the 2-year associate at Kapilani Community College in Maui. So anyway, I've been at the university for 27 years. Prior to that, I was a teacher in a transition program for 9 years before I went on to get my doctorate. So the program that I taught in was kind of cool. So I was employed from the school district, but my CBI class, I actually had my office at a hotel. So students would come from 3 different high schools to the hotel. Boy, the scheduling, like trying to get it so everybody was kind of staggered a little bit, to come and do their CBI in a community setting. There were a few students who were under 18, but most of them were in that 18 to 21 year range, with the philosophy that we do have kids who are on certificate track who the DOE provides instruction until their 22nd birthday. However, a lot of times they're still in school, and that 18 to 21, my personal opinion and that of other people too is, that 18 to 21 year range really should be used for the community. What they're getting in school would be better in the community. However, many of your programs do have, they will have the kids do coffee shop or, some kind of workplace-based training. But you know what? There's nothing better than actually receiving training in the setting where you'll use it. There was just so many things that there was something I was learning every day about, just, oh my heavens, I forgot to teach that. Oh, I never even considered that, and most of that was having to do with work-related social skills. It's just things like, oh my heavens, I never even thought about that. Oh, and so every day just learning more and more about that. So with that, the class that we are going to do together is about transition supported employment. We are going to talk about the transition portion of the IEP. They just changed it this year to make it more specific with respect to transition assessments. So we are going to talk about that. And when we do think about transition assessments, they don't all have to be formal assessments. So think about combining some things from some of your other classes where there's those formal assessments, but then there's also teacher-made assessments, and combining those. And that's what we'll be talking about. You will have the opportunity to do some of those. And that is going to be the major project, but we'll get there. I'm going to show you, this is, oh, how many of you have had a chance to get the textbook? Oh, good. Thank heavens.
I have the digital, and what sucks about this digital,
Oh,
book
yes.
is they tell you the pages. You know,
Okay.
you can't locate pages, you have to locate, so like when you said page 42, I'm like,
Oh,
but I'm
shoot.
glad you had the resource, because I went to
Okay.
research and I found it, and I'm like, okay, let's just go find this in the chapter, so I'm like,
Okay, so I'm
I
gonna
may have to ask you to give me like,
That's
hey,
fine.
look for this, and that's that page, you know?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to, you're gonna have to remind me though, okay? So like if in, it says go to page 42 and do that, what I'm gonna have to do is go to page 42, table 2 that is titled, right? Yeah, go to table 2 that is titled, the role of the secondary special educator, right? Okay.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, you remind me though, I'm not gonna be offended if you tell me, hey, I don't know what page 42 is, because I completely get it. I have had copies like that too, so.
I have the same problem, and then the Kindle version is not very user-friendly on the other computers. So I'm trying to research on like how to convert it to like PDF file so that I can read a little bit more easily. I don't know if I succeed or not.
I'm not sure. I don't think you can convert it to a PDF.
There are some tools, I guess,
Are there?
nowadays, but yeah, I'm looking into it. There are some apps that may be able to, let me do it, but
Okay.
I don't know. I just downloaded the textbook a couple days ago, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah, but
fine.
I'll
You
do
just,
some
all
research.
of you just remind me that I need to put, like if I'm saying, please read the section on the section that is titled, or the table that says, remind me. That's actually not a bad practice all the time anyway. So maybe it'll make me do that forever and always. Maybe I'll start doing that. Okay, that's good. I understand. Now, one good thing about the Kindle version is you can still highlight. So you can highlight and take notes. So that's actually really good. And then you can send those notes to yourself or however you want to do those. Okay, good. Just because I wasn't sure, I did have the first 2 chapters scanned today. So is there anyone that doesn't have the book yet? No? Super. Okay. Well then, okay, Asia, I am going to, I can send you those, or I can, I'll just post them. I'll put them in our resources, okay? So this is where you're gonna get it. I'm not going to put it like on the weekly tasks. I'm going to put the scanned first 2 chapters in resources under week 1, okay? Very good. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's proceed. Probably the most important thing. I know you're just dying to know what standards we're meeting, but just like you have to do when writing your lesson plans and when doing, you do need to have a goal in mind. What standards are we going to meet for this class? A big thing is collaboration and also individual learning differences and some planning, because we'll do a transition plan. Okay, model code of ethics for educators. And here is the part we probably all want to see. So every week there will be one thing. So this class is basically 5 weeks in length, which translates to a regular semester is like 15 weeks. Okay. The total time of our class is 6 weeks, but that last week is going to be for writing your paper. Okay. So 5 weeks of instruction. So each week really is like 3 weeks of a regular semester. So it is intense. Okay, so please know this is intense. I know in your other classes, this may seem like a lot to have something every week, but in your other classes, I'm sure you have something every 3rd week, if not more often. So remember that. So there will be 2 10-point structured reading responses. These will be based on the text, and I will have some questions. In resources on La Lima, I have some model examples in there. I have some model examples from last year and the year before. Now, some of those examples may not be the exact prompt that you get, but you'll see. Last year, I did 4 of these prompts, and it was way too much. So the examples you have it to 4 different prompts, but I thought, no, I'm not going to take them away. You can see, and you may want to read them anyway because you may learn from them. So look at other students' work. Then there will be 2 online discussions. So it's going to go every other. Week 1, structured response. Week 2, an online discussion. Week 3, structured, and then online. This online discussion is actually going to be, you're going to have to get together with classmates, discuss something, and post as a group. Okay? So this means that you will have to contact each other, figure out how you want to get together, whether you want to do it on the phone, whether you do it, Zoom or Google. Actually, Google Meets is good, but there will be a topic. And let's see, how many? I wonder if we want to do groups of 3. Groups of 3 may be easier. Last year I had groups of 4, but actually it's easier for 3 people to find a time to get together than for 4. So groups of 3 may be better. Okay, good. And whatever group you are in the first time, you'll be in a different group the next time so that you get to interact with a couple of different class members. Okay, and then there's 2 kind of big projects and then just attendance. If you have to miss a class, let me know. So I will record, and then what you will do is listen to the recording, do a summary, and send me the summary. Okay? The summary should be at least 1-page single space. Summarize the session, what you learned from it. Okay. The first big project is a needs assessment and community resource guide. There is a form here, and it has indicators of exemplary transition programs. What you're going to do is take that and evaluate your school based on that. So no school is going to rate highest in all areas. It's one way for you to get to know your school. Now, I do not expect that you can do this on your own. It's probably going to look like interviewing somebody at your school, which again is not a bad activity because then you're going to learn more about what your school does, what does it look like, what does transition look like. Those of you at a middle school, if you want to interview somebody at a high school, you can, because more things are present for transition at the high school than at the middle school. So if you'd like to interview, and it doesn't matter. You're just going to do these indicators for a school. If it's not the school you're going to work in next semester because you don't know, that's fine. You will not be penalized for that. If you are an e-hire in a school, it might be a really good way for you to get to know the special ed department head or the transition coordinator or whoever at your school. It might give you that opportunity to talk to them and learn more about the school. The second half of that assignment is to identify resources in your community for employment, post-secondary education, residential services, and social, recreation, and leisure. Again, I have an example of one in resources on La Lima. Okay. Then the last one is an individualized transition plan. Thursday, we're going to start talking about transition assessment because we shouldn't really design a plan for a student until we've done some assessments. The other reason I want to do this early is because some of you still have access to kids. And if you want to do like an interview with a kid, like a transition interview with a kid, you may have a chance to do it next week. However, most of you are pretty much done, right? Yeah. You can do a transition plan for any teenager that you want. If you have a kid, if you have a nephew, if you have, what have you, you can give these assessments to that kid. Okay? One assessment needs to be a formal one. And there are a couple of really easy ones online, give you access to them. That's great. And then a couple will be informal, like an all about me page or an interview. So you can do that with a real teenager. If you absolutely positively do not have anyone at all that you can think of, then you can create a student, but you would fill out the assessments and everything as if you are the student. So you would fill out, we'll talk about it on Thursday when I show them to you, okay? But like, so for example, you would say, hi, my name is Joe. I really like skateboarding. I really like this. The kind of situations that make me nervous are this. I'm not sure what I want to be yet, but I think I want to work with my hands, and then there might be like an assessment that I like this better than this better than this. And you would just fill it out as if you are this kid that you are imagining, your scenario kid. See the kid, be the kid, fill out the assessments as if you are the kid. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if I interview an actual person and the teenager has to have some sort of learning disabilities or something.
It would be good if they did, but if they didn't, I know a lot of 17-year-olds without disabilities that could really use some guidance as well. And like, what do you want to do when you finish school?
Oh, okay. So it doesn't have to. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If you can find a student with a disability, great. If you can't, I think the whole process works okay. I wish every kid had a transition plan. And in many of your high schools, you have the PTP, that personal transition plan that some of the teachers, they get like the 1 credit for it. So they do that for general ed kids. So there's parts of it that are the same, parts of it that are different. I'd kind of like to marry those a little bit because some of the things they do in that personal transition plan in gen ed are actually just exactly what we need for special ed. So we should be using them. We shouldn't consider that. I mean, those can be sources of information, the activities that they do in that class. I mean, we should be using that. I think that's it. And then our schedule, so structured reading online, structured, and then the community resources, followed by the next online discussion, and then the individual transition plan. So this week is really just working on your paper. We will see how it goes. Because this is a smaller class, we may be able to only have one session instead of two during that week, because the idea is going to be you're going to present your transition plan. You're going to tell everybody about it, like what you did. The class isn't so huge. We may not need 2 nights to do that. So given that, we may be able to take out this Thursday. Okay. I'm going to leave it in there for now. Because nobody feels bad if they get a night off, but you'll feel horrible if I add one on. So for right now, don't make plans on that night yet, but I think we may be able to give you a free night. Woohoo! Okay, before we go any further, any questions? Okay, I hope this is fairly clear. If it's not, ask me, okay? I'm not going to be offended if you ask. If you don't understand something, I'm not going to take it personal that I did something wrong that you don't understand or whatever. Just ask. Just ask. Oh boy. All right. So we are already a half hour into class. Can you believe it? I am going. We're going to do a little bit of background. And I tried this out last night and it wasn't working so well. I'm hoping we have better luck tonight. It's one of those where I ask questions and you get to answer them online and then it'll pop up. We'll see. For some reason, I don't know why it wasn't working. We'll try. I'm going to share screen again. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Go. Yeah. Go. Proceed. There we go. Okay, so this we just looked over. Basic course structure, Zoom Tuesday and Thursday. There will be 2 written responses due on these 2 Mondays. Then you're going to have the forums on the other weeks and 2 major projects. The course is arranged in the left-hand side of La Lima. It says weekly tasks. If something doesn't work, like if a link doesn't work, let me know immediately. But all the materials are in resources. So this is how I structured it. So think of, you have like week 1. Actually, I'll even draw for you maybe. Is it going to let me? Okay, I can. Draw. Okay. So week 1 goes across there. And it'll say ding 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 ding, right? And you click on this link right here. The link is actually 2 resources. That's where everything's stored. So think of resources as almost like the Google Drive or the whatever where the links are coming from. So sometimes if there's a link that's broken, then go straight to resources. And then hopefully you won't get as frustrated like, in the meantime, though, do tell me so I can fix it.
Your New York Times or whatever brings it to paywall.
What was that? I didn't hear you all the way, Joe.
New York Times, I think it's your New York Times link for this week.
Yeah, it's not working.
You have to log in.
Oh, you have to log into the New York Times?
Yeah.
Junk. and that's the one about Samuel. I will check how long it is, because if it's not that long, we'll just watch it in class. I don't remember how long it is. If it's something like shorter than 10 to 15 minutes, otherwise it's too hard to sit there and watch in class. Okay, on my list, the New York Times. So the link would work. It just wants you to log into the Times to view it. Got it. Okay. Okay. Clear my drawings. Okay, and clear that. Okay, so here we go. Let's try it. Now let's see if this works. I'm hoping it will. So this is kind of like, I think probably most of you, if you played Kahoot with your students or with your friends or whatever, this one, you just go to slido.com and there is the code or the number that you enter in. And I don't know where my phone is. It's okay. When you start typing in, it should show us. So let's hope. Look at that. It showed up. Yay. Beautiful. Change, moving one stage of life to the next. Yep. So it's kind of interesting in the field of special education, they talk about transition as this one thing. But out in the world, you're going to hear people talk about the preschool transition. You're going to hear about that transition from middle school to high school. So just speaking about transition itself is a little bit misleading because there's lots of transitions. But the technical area, they talk about transition for secondary students. Moving from one thing to another, new phase, morphing, moving one stage. Good, one stage, one place to another. Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Moving on. So think about some of these changes. So if you're a new homeowner, it's a big transition. Like if you've just bought a house, or even if you just moved, those are all big transitions. Recently divorced, a new parent, recently married, recently lost a job, recently got a new job, or a recent college graduate. All of those are big transitions. So think about this. What changes when you make those transitions? Or think about one in particular in your life. What changed? What did you need to consider? And how did you prepare? Anybody want to share? What are some of the things you had to do? What did you have to consider? You can use your mic, you can use the chat, whichever you're comfortable with.
When I graduated college, it was 3 years ago. Is what job I was gonna do after, and it was during COVID too. So what I was gonna do next.
Well, and there's like this domino effect too, right? Because what job you're going to do next might have determined where you could live. It's going to determine your hours. It's going to determine, I mean, there's like all these different things that it all affects, right? Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith and jump in. Yeah, for accepting a new job. But one of the things that happens is think about some of the feelings. What's happening to you during those times? You might be feeling a little anxious. You might be feeling a little unsure of yourselves. You know, it's kind of like, oh my gosh. So it can be very anxiety provoking, very stressful. You know, you don't know what's ahead in the future. And so, you know, that kind of puts you in this state of, I like that, Asia, kind of that scared, nervous, all of the above. Yeah. So when we think about it, when we're stressed, when we're nervous, when we have anxiety, sometimes we're not at our top form, right? Sometimes it impacts what we do. We might also be, you know, we may be a little grumpier. We may be just like, back off, don't tell me what to do, right? You know, we may be feeling all of those things. Oh, trying not to break the baby is like, oh, parent, I'm gonna, no matter what I do, I'm gonna break this. They're so tiny, I'm gonna break them, right? So all of those things are, you hold a lot of tension. Think about that when you're thinking about the high school kids too, okay? Think about, you know, we think, oh, their life's so easy. What do they have to worry about, right? It's like, yes, they're kids. They don't have a mortgage. They don't have to find a babysitter if they want to go out. But they are still very unsure whether it is a kid in general ed, special ed, whether they're in inclusion, whether they're in resource. There's still this kind of monkey on your back of what's next. So when you were going through one of these transitions, you know, sometimes like they may say something like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like if you were just divorced or lost your job, or, oh, you really don't deserve this. What are you going to do next? Oh, how will this affect your finances? How has this affected your health? How are you doing? Are you adjusting? Is anyone helping you? Or like with a baby or a new job or something on the more positive side of those transitions. Oh, did you get what you want? Congratulations, you do really deserve this. How will this affect your finances? That goes across. Oh, what are you going to do next? And again, how are you doing? How are you adjusting? And do you have anybody helping you? Which, look at whether it's one that we might perceive as a more negative transition or a more positive. It's still the idea that change is hard. Change is either one. So how did some of these transitions make you feel? Or even better, how did those people saying those things to you make you feel? Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you handling? Are you coping? Do you need help? Do you need, you know, oh, how are your finances? How are you? How do those make you feel? Stressed, overwhelmed? Sometimes a little intrusive too. That's what I would type right now. It's like, yeah. But then on the other hand, you didn't want to ask for help, so you wish somebody would have offered it. Because we hate to ask for help. We hate to, yeah, I like that. I like Jessica and Asia's comments to Joe's, like, it'll make the baby will break me. Good, I started liking myself better, that's good. But depressed, not prepared, irritable, exhausted. I'm just gonna go hide now. Yeah. Stressed keeps getting bigger. Many of you have written stressed. That's why the word cloud keeps getting bigger. Overwhelmed. Yeah. So again, the only reason I'm asking this is we got to think the kids. The kids are going through some of this too. So, think about how they feel. Sometimes, did you feel that you were supposed to assume a role, like with a new child? Huh, I'm supposed to be a parent, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what am I supposed to do? I'm a parent now, or oh my heavens, I'm married now. What does that mean? But you're not really sure what the role is. Or for some of you, especially emergency hires, you were just hired to be a special educator. What does that mean? I'm assuming a role. What is it? I don't even know what that role is, right? So you knew that something was expected of you, but you really didn't quite know sure, you didn't know for sure what that was. Maybe awkward, maybe not quite knowing how you fit in, or maybe you felt like, do I really belong? And maybe a little bit of confused and frustrated too. So not only the stress, but confused. Stress comes when you're facing the unknown. Okay.
Well, that's how I feel about these classes. I'm totally out of my comfort zone. I mean, I've had 2 careers already, and I'm talented enough to pick up a lot of things that I've done. A lot harder in learning, but it's just like that's why I think I'm relating a lot of what I'm going through with the stress of this when I teach my kids. I try to make it so applesauce easy, just because I know in this class, I read everything I was going through. I was like, oh my God, can I do this? How do I do this? So when I'm looking at my kids, I'm trying to okay, they're only afraid of math is because they don't understand it. They're overwhelmed or whatever it shall be.
Yeah.
So how do I give it to them to the point where I'm looking at it for myself. If I feel this stressed, I understand their behavior then of how they reject things. So this is actually an enlightening class today.
Well, and I think the other thing too is, so we say we want to make it understandable. We don't want it like that. A little bit of stress is always good for us, because if we have absolutely no stress, then that just means we're flat out, right? We're watching, Netflix or whatever, So we need a little bit of stress to push us in the butt to get us going a little. But we can't have too much, because if you have too much stress, you crumble. They have pictures of those, the stress little arc and all that. Same thing for our kids. We got to push them a little bit. We can't make it so easy that they're not learning, but we can't push them over the edge. So it's like, how do we make sure that we're teaching content, or, whether it be functional skills or academic skills, how do we teach that content in a way that they can get it, that they can grasp it, work with it, and make it their own, but make it so it's not too stressful, because they will just shut down. They absolutely will shut down if it's too stressful. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to give you just a couple of background. Here's another thing, actually many, many years ago, even before so I was working in the CBI program, and I was working full-time, and I decided to do my master's, and there was a master's in special ed that was specifically about transition. And so there was a lot about how did it come to be, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to give you a little bit of the background, but again, we don't want to take the whole class on background. So tonight's background. Thursday, we're getting right into assessment, and we are going to kind of structure the class along a couple of case studies. So I'm going to have an imaginary couple of kids for you that we are going to talk about education. We're going to talk about employment. We're going to talk about living, residential. We're going to talk about all those kind of things when kids go from high school to adult services. But we're going to do that kind of within these couple of made-up kids that you're going to get to know. And I am so sorry because I already named one Joe. So when we talk about Joe, don't think, maybe I'll have to go change the name. Maybe I can change the name maybe before Thursday. You think? Maybe I better. Let me think. I could do John. That wouldn't be that hard, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So just teeny bit of history. Let's do it. Okay, so. Woo, I went too far. Okay, so most of you know that PL 94-142, that was the birth of special education. Okay, so that was the Education for All Handicapped Children Act 1975. So in 1983, this woman this is a cabinet-based position. OSERS is the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services. So we still have that in the government, but in 1983, she said, okay, we've now, special education is a law. These kids have gone through free appropriate public education, least restrictive environment. But our first cohort is graduating. What happens next? So that's kind of where this field got, this sub area of special ed got started. Madeline Will also had a child with a disability who was a young adult, like teenage at the same time too. So she was invested in this. So she said, what happens in between high school and employment? For some people, high school to employment, no special services. They go, they get a job, or they might use generic services like, you might just go to an employment agency, or you might, but it's not a government disability provided services. There are some kids, however, that might need time limited services. They may need a little bit of support in between what's happening at high school and what's happening in employment. And there are other individuals who are going to need ongoing services. Just because they graduate from high school does not mean patoo already. So she created this model, and then services, the whole conceptualization of what do we need to do was kind of around this. Are there kids, like general ed kids, they're just going to, whatever, they're going to be able to do it on their own. Friend, family, network, whatever. What are these time limited services? And then what are the ongoing services? What do we need to do? So right after that, this other guy, Halpern, and a couple others chimed in and said, employment's just one part of it. Like when kids leave high school, it's not just employment. There's also your residential environment and also your social and interpersonal networks. And all of these kind of come to a base of community adjustment. So what we need to look at is just generic services for community adjustment, time limited or ongoing. So maybe we need to look at more than just employment. Now, in more recent years, I'm going to go back to this before we do this. In more recent years, there's a lot more focus on post-secondary education. So think about this. This was in like the 1980s. Career and technical education is kind of being reborn. But back at this time, work study and vocational ed was big. So when they were talking about employment, a lot of that was education that's leading to employment. When No Child Left Behind came out, it shifted so much to academics that vocational ed really took a hit. They took a hard hit. And with that, it was college prep, college prep, college prep, post-secondary, and much less emphasis on employment. Today, with the academies and career and technical education is kind of making a little bit of a comeback. Our schools are focusing more on that. And I think it's very, very helpful for students who have an IEP, because there are a lot of kids with an IEP who go to college. But I would really like the options there for more go to college, community college, a trade that, you know, you can support a family, that you can have independence, which may not happen if you go, and this is great to go get a philosophy degree, but for some people, maybe it's better to get a 2-year degree and get plumbing or electrician, etc. And there's many years that, I don't know, it seemed like that was looked at as second class, that somehow community college was second class, it was somehow less than. We need to stop that. We need to stop that. And I think valuing career and technical education more, like that emphasis on CTE now, hopefully that'll break some of that, because it's kind of this elitist, you know, somehow it's not as valued. We don't ever want to send that message to our kids, even though they're getting it through the media, they're getting it through other people. That's where we come in, that we influence them, that it is not less than in any way, shape, or form. You know, just having a goal, meeting that goal, going to a community college that's success. And it's okay, and it is not less than. So unfortunately, this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. People with disabilities have low employment rates. So 21% of people with disabilities are employed. 2022, it was up from 2021. Might be a little bit of pandemic recovery, but looking back in all the years, it was like right in there anyway. So even prior to the pandemic, it wasn't really much more than, it wasn't above the 20s ever when you look at these statistics. However, people without disabilities, 65%. That, get my cool little drawing out here. Here we go. Oh, I need a better color. There we go. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. When I pushed that off to stop that. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. Oh, you guys, I don't know what you're going to do with me. Okay. Back. Start share again. Oh my goodness. You're going to say, what happened? She better just quit playing with the pen and get on with it, right? Quit messing around with the pen. Okay, I will. I'll quit messing around with the pen. You can see my pointer or my cursor, so I'll quit playing. Okay. Unemployment rates for people with disabilities are 7.6 compared to people without disabilities of about 3.7. Across all age groups, people with disabilities less likely to be employed. 30% of all those who are employed who have a disability are part-time. Only 16% for people without disabilities. And people with disabilities who are employed are more likely to be self-employed than people without disabilities. This is interesting, and this is also promising for many of our students, future adults. There may have to be some innovative ways of creating employment opportunities, especially for those with more significant disabilities. Okay. This one, because we are at 1 hour already, oh, Avery. Sweetness. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Okay. I want everybody to stand up because I don't want anybody sitting for more than an hour. I am going to click on this, stand up, take 5 minutes. And this is just a cool little website that I'm giving you access to, but you know, you don't have to memorize it or anything. We're going to take 5 minutes. My clock says 5:34, so 5:40. I'll see you. Okay, stand up, stretch. I don't want anybody getting achy backs.
Dr. Black, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. I was just saying thank you to Avery for putting in that YouTube link. I have posted that in our weekly tasks where I did have the New York Times link. I put this one right under it that says you can also get it. So Avery, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great.
You're welcome.
Including Samuel was a documentary that was made years ago. This cute little guy, Samuel, you'll see a picture of it it's a 20-minute video. The one that is here that Avery gave us, it's on weekly task. So you don't have to memorize it or copy it right now. But including Samuel was this great video. Everybody saw it. I think every introductory special ed course forever saw it because it was this very cute young guy, young boy named Samuel who had CP, used a wheelchair, and it was about getting him included. Samuel's now in high school, and this is Samuel talking about, I'm not a kid. And he interviews people, and it's pretty interesting. And he's going to talk about he wants a girlfriend. So, but you're going to love Samuel. You're going to love him. Okay. So I'm going to show you this one very quickly. So this was the link I had on the PowerPoint. This is the Hawaii Data Exchange, and it has post-secondary progress 1 to 6 years after high school. So we see that you can filter it. So you can play with it all you want. The PowerPoint for this class will be posted the minute we're done. Okay. So you can look at those from 2 years ago, okay, and see where they are now. What I find a little bit more interesting, so this is just overall, is let's sort. You can sort, so you can play around with this. What happens, so that's economically disadvantaged, and if you look, about 21% earned a degree 6 years. Are we at 6 years yet? Oh, I'm down back to 2012. Okay, here we go. About 20% earned a degree or certificate. That's economically disadvantaged versus not economically disadvantaged. Those return enrollment, so stop out, no post-secondary record. So these are most likely those who did not continue. Now, that was economically disadvantaged. Let's look at special education. Not bad. 37% actually earned a degree. Oh, that's the not sped. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, what am I thinking? Look at that, 8 compared to 37. I was actually shocking myself there for a moment, saying, what? Okay, so here we go. Look at this. No post-secondary record. 70% 1 year out, 2 years out, even 6 years after graduation, 61% have not enrolled in any kind of post-secondary education. 8% have earned a degree or certificate. I'm really not sure the definition of stop out. But look at that compared to not sped. That stinks. That really stinks. Now, this is just post-secondary progress. There is college and career readiness. I was thinking there was one on employment too. It's going kind of slow though, so workforce, there we go. No, that's not what we want. So anyway, you can play around with it. You can look at it anytime you want. It's interesting. And can you see this video now? This is the one that Avery gave us so that you too can see this without logging in. It lets you just watch it. No, we aren't going to watch the whole thing.
The New York Times Op Docs presents My Disability Roadmap.
There's
Jan
one to see,
Hobby
Samuel.
and Samuel Hobby. Unified Sports Basketball Game.
Okay, there's Samuel. You're gonna love the pit. They're gonna show a couple of pictures when he was a kid, but he's on Unified Sports. He's getting ready to go to college, and you're gonna like him. So that's enough there. We just have a little bit more to finish up on. Okay. Okay, there we go. This is the definition of IDEA. So it needs to focus on post-secondary education, vocational education, employment, adult ed, adult services, independent living, and community participation. So when we think about what is required by law, transition does require a tracking of the planning for and preparation for post-school activities. The transition plan needs to be based on the student's needs, taking into account strengths, preferences, and interests. The state of Hawaii goes by what they call PINs. So when you make a transition plan, they're going to ask you PINs, which is actually preferences, interests, needs, and strengths. And you will have to document each of those. What are the kids' preferences, interests, needs, and strengths? You have probably participated or seen an IEP that has done very similar with the academics, but we need to do it with respect to 3 areas: education and training, employment, and independent living. Hawaii says this, the transition part of the IEP must start at age 14. So some of you in middle school are going to have to start writing the transition portion of the IEP, and it needs to have a statement of appropriate post-secondary goals. For me, measurable post-secondary goals, whenever I saw MPG, that was miles per gallon. But if you're doing this, it's not miles per gallon anymore. And as you know, in schools, they're going to use acronyms. You're going to see acronyms. You're going to see this MPG. And then you're also going to see something about like PSI or PS, and then it'll be something after, and that's always post-secondary something. The post-secondary goal, the post-secondary outcome, the post-secondary, so you'll see those, okay? And this part of the IEP also specifies the transition services that are needed. And wait, there's more. I'm going backwards. Why is it not letting me out of there? Okay, true. Because it just didn't want to. Okay. You will also, this is part of that project you're going to do, is you're going to write a transition plan for that student that either you give the assessments to or the student you make up. Okay? So, how do we know that a measurable post-secondary goal based on assessments, anyone could measure whether the goal was achieved or not? There is a time element, and crapola. Oh, you guys, you are being so patient with me. Okay, can you still see this screen? Oh my gosh. Okay, and we need to consider the family's goals and the student in here too. We are going to talk a lot about including the student. Now, okay, here we go, Slido. I want you to tell me which one of these is a measurable post-secondary goal. A, B, C, or D? Which one of those is a measurable post-secondary goal? Okay. See some people in the chat. Is it not working in the Slido? Doesn't matter. You can do chat, Slido, doesn't matter.
It's working in Slido.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. It looks like we got 8 up there. Ha ha! Look at that. Okay. All right. Yes. Does anybody want to venture? You can tell me why this one is correct or why this one is not correct. The other two, obviously, this one is not correct because it says would like her to. That's not a goal. This one, she wants to work. Well, that's not a goal. This one, why is it not a post-secondary goal?
Because it has to be after high school.
Yes, because this says during her senior year, so it's not post-secondary. Perfect. It's a tricky one though, because it says what she will do. This one, after exiting high school. Here's your key phrase when you're writing this part of the IEP. After exiting high school or upon, sometimes I don't say upon graduation, because especially kids who are in that 18 to 21-year-old. So after exiting high school, Janelle will attend the cosmetology program at Honolulu Community College. It needs to be specific. So again, do you know it when you see it? Can you say, yes, it's been achieved, or no, it hasn't? Okay, good. Here's another one. After high school, Alex will enroll in King's College and take business math. Boom. That's specific. You can say, yes, he did, or no, he didn't. Upon graduation from high school, Jason will work part-time as a shop helper to gain experience in the automotive repair industry. So this is, he's going to work part-time, get experience. Maybe at this point, when you're writing the IEP, he says he doesn't want to go to college, but maybe next year it might say, we'll enroll in auto mechanics at. It depends on what his assessment said. We would want him to hopefully get some kind of a training program. We would love that. But if his assessment says he doesn't want to go to college, then we shouldn't put, we'll go to college in the plan. The assessment needs to match the plan.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know for some of the kids in CBI classrooms, they go to adult day programs. And I also know that there's waiting lists. So how would you write it if that was the plan for a student, but they're still on a waiting list?
Well, that's still the goal. So upon exiting school, we'll enter Easter Seals pre-vocational program. If, there can be some things about, we'll continue like the daily living skills. by doing things at home, you know. But the goal would be to increase independence by taking the bus, you know, being able to take the public bus. And I would still say the goal. Will enroll in a Medicaid waiver, because there's the different programs out there. Will enroll in a Medicaid waiver program for pre-vocational skills training. Yeah. Yeah, I know, that's hard. Yeah. And as long as you have the student connected with a case manager at Department of Health, like the Department of Health DD division, because the family and the student can choose which of those programs they want to go to with the help of the case manager. So we'll talk about that, you know, more as we go. But as long as they have a case manager and they're working with them, your goal could be that they will enroll in a Medicaid waiver program for pre-vocational skills training. Or, yeah, sometimes work-based learning, or good question. And then the services. So once you have the goal, then you have to say what's going to be provided. So everything the school provides should be steps towards the goal. So there needs to be a clear connection between the goal and the services. So are the transition services focused on improving academic and functional achievement? Do they move the students to post-school settings? And are the services appropriate? I'm going to give you an example here. So here would be, upon completion of high school, Bryce will enroll in a vocational program to study building and carpentry. So what are the services that you would say? School personnel will arrange visits to college campuses that add building trades programs. Okay. Sometimes we say school personnel because the IEP is a legal document, as you know. And so if you say the career counselor will, sometimes that kind of boxes you in a little bit. And I've seen a lot of these where it'll say the special education teacher will, or even a lot of them will say the transition coordinator will, which some of your schools have transition coordinators, but I swear the transition part of the IEP just dumps everything on them. So that's a little bit difficult. This one, general and special ed teachers will teach Bryce how to calculate fractions needed for measurement. So that's more than the math teacher. So that would be, we would say, you know, the 12th grade math teacher will. School personnel will arrange an internship with a construction company as part of the work study program. School personnel will teach how to write a resume and an introduction letter. All of these would be really good services on a transition plan. Okay, we're almost done. Just double check here. There's a couple here. We are going to be talking about indicator 13 and indicator 14. All of your schools have to turn this in every year, this indicator 13. This is where the IEPs get audited and they go through and they check this indicator 13 list and say, did it do bing, bing, bing? I have these. They're actually in the resources for week 1, the indicator 13 checklist. Indicator 14 is the after high school. One of the hard things about that is sometimes you can't find kids after high school. So sometimes that data isn't as accurate, but schools are supposed to indicate what did the student then actually do. This is in your text. Maybe we can do it next time. There are pages 3 to 6. It's going to say, what is the role for those of you who are the actual title because you don't have your book? It is going to be called, I think it's called the roles. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get it right now. It does say that. It says, what are the roles of the, it'll say the role of the teacher, the role of the teacher, which is actually, it says role of the secondary. So this is in your book. And it's called Key Personnel is the name of the section, and then the transition coordinator. Okay, so I'm going to let you read that. I do have a little matching thing that we can do, but I'm going to let you just read that. So this is what it says in there. Special educators are responsible for planning and providing the transition services for the students on their caseload. Special education teacher are going to track the transition competencies. Okay, according to, the transition coordinator is actually supposed to do some of the bigger things like creating some of those workplace sites. Okay, the special ed or the transition coordinator may do some of the assessments. They're going to ensure that teachers are informed about what they need to be doing. They should be providing some professional development. There is a checklist in your book. So I'm going to give you a note about that too. And it's called the reason I think this is important is because over the years, I've had a lot of students say, I don't need to know about transition because our transition coordinator does it. However, think about the transition coordinator at any given high school. How well do they know the kids? So they are exactly that, a coordinator. So they might do some of the assessments. They're going to do some of these. They're going to be coordinating with companies, with businesses in the community to try to arrange some work sites. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to coordinate between different staff. They're supposed to coordinate between some of the CTE classes in special ed. So their job is to be coordinating more. They also have to collect the data on the indicator 13 and 14, but the special educator is the one who knows the kids. You're the one who needs to be tracking the individual skill development. You're the one who's going to be implementing those services, okay? And also, you're the one who will need to identify what kind of accommodations the kids may need in the community. So like he could work at this job if this were provided, because then that is what the transition coordinator can tell the company. So say there's a car wash in your community. The transition coordinator is contacted the company says, yes, we can have 3 young people come and work in the afternoons at the car wash. You're the one that's going to need to tell the coordinator what kind of accommodations the kid may need. Does that make sense? Because the transition coordinator doesn't know. They don't know each individual kid. In most high schools, there's going to be at least 60 special education students per grade. You know, so how in the world is the transition coordinator going to know all those individual things that the kid needs? So as a care coordinator, that's you. Okay, you're the one that needs to know how is the students progressing in certain skills, what kind of accommodations might they need. Okay, so these are part of the quality indicators that you're going to do later. So it's going to talk about, does the school do transition assessment? Do they involve the family? Do they involve the student? Is curriculum and instruction aligned with planning? Is there any interagency collaboration? And what are the infrastructures in the school? Again, you're going to do that by interviewing someone. You're not expected to know this at all. That's the goal of the assignment, is that you're finding out more. Okay. And these are evidence-based practices for successful transition. Most important by far, the best predictor of whether a student will be employed after high school is if they had a job during high school. If they had a part-time job, a summer job, even if it's working for a family business, if they have had some job experience during high school, that is the best predictor of them being employed after high school. These are all things that we're going to talk about: social skills training, life skills training. We are also going to talk about student-focused planning, family involvement, and we are going to talk about this: actively involving the student in the process, the student attending their own IEP meeting, the student participating in the meeting, checking in with the student so they're not just sitting there listening to all these people talk about them. Okay, so this is one thing we are going to do in the plan, is the student's going to create and share a brief PowerPoint about themselves, their strengths, interests, preference, and needs. That's part of that assignment, and that's in there. But it's going to be kind of fun. The template, I have everything for you. And that's it. And it's 6:08. So see, if I would have said 6 o'clock, you guys would be so upset right now. But I am going to let you go now. Stop share, save. All righty. We are going to start with assessment on Thursday. Read chapters 1 and 2. Okay. I will share one more thing just so everyone knows where to look. I'm going to look at Lima real quick. Okay, so that's just the welcome there. Announcements, overview. Get it from your student. There we go. So week 1, and for the life of me, I can't get those. Can't get that a different color. I'm going to keep trying though, because that's aggravating. Okay, so here's your reading. Chapter 1, chapter 2. These are just documents to save. One IRIS module. And here is the link that Avery gave us so that you can actually download it. Thank you so much. And then this will be for next time. I would say in planning, have this done by Thursday. You can do that one after Thursday. I would allow yourself, I would allow yourself to at least 2 hours for this. And if you have time, which I know you're not going to have a lot of time before Thursday, take 2 hours and do this. And then this will probably also take another 2 hours. So you can do that after. And then, oh, open up. This is due May 29th, which is Monday. Okay. All righty. There we go. I think everything is there. If any of these don't work, you got to let me know immediately, because it might work on my end and it doesn't work on your end. See, like when I click on it, it's working just fine. If somehow it's not working on your end,
When it comes to
let
science
me know.
forces,
Okay, everyone. Good night. We're 10 minutes over.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
I just have a really quick thing. So
Yeah.
I'm starting a job next week and I'll be getting off at 4. I'm gonna try my hardest to be back by